Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another daily devotion. I'm Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church, and this devotion I am recording for Tuesday, August 9th of 2022. We are working our way through Matthew's version of the little apocalypse or the Mount Olivet Discourse. We are today in chapter 24. We're looking at verses 36 to 44. We're going to be comparing that to what we see in Luke's gospel. We'll mention Mark's little apocalypse. The little apocalypse is we talk about Mark's little apocalypse. I don't usually call it the little apocalypse per se, or at least I don't, in the other two synoptics, but it's in all three synoptics. A little different in each one, but very similar. But the differences are important, I think, and the differences point out to why this is often used here in Luke and Matthew, and Luke, I should say, because we're talking about Matthew, not Luke today, as support for the rapture. And I want to point out to you that it's not. In fact, it's not about the rapture at all. This is about the destruction of the temple. This is about, you can look at the end of this in verse 44, I think shoves ahead to the second coming. But it's not talking about the rapture. In fact, it's quite the opposite of the rapture. Being taken away here is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. So we'll get to that. So let's read for you all Matthew chapter 24, verses 36 to 44. But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. For as the days of Noah were, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be in the field, one will be taken, and one will be left. Two women will be grinding and meal together, one will be taken, and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on that day your Lord is coming. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Okay, and again, many believe that this is just talking about the temple. I can very much see that, especially in this one, that it probably is. I do think, though, that there is reflection towards the second coming. That's my personal opinion. Your mileage may vary, as they say. But what this absolutely is not the rapture. Because now here we could take this where it says in verse 40 and 41, then two will be in the field, one will be taken, and one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together, one will be taken, one will be left. That's where they're taking the rapture. One is taken away. But if you look at Luke's version of this, you'll see something. Matthew has the same verse, but he used it back. We talked about it last Thursday, actually, not quite a week ago. So let's look at what Luke says in chapter 17 of Luke, where he's talking about the little apocalypse as well. And chapter 17, he starts off verse 22 to 37. A lot of the language that goes through from 22 to 33 rather, is language that it's much of what we've just read in Luke, or in Matthew rather. It's very, very similar. Talking about Noah and eating and drinking, marrying, and all of that we just read. Okay, but when we get to verse 34 through 37, we have this. I tell you, on that night there will be two in one bed, two will be taken and the other left. There will be two women grinding meal together, one will be taken and the other left. That ends at verse 36. So that sounds exactly like what we read in 40 and 41, almost exactly, all right? Except for he added this two in one bed, okay? He added that in. But verse 37 is telling, because now the apostles respond to it, what he's just said. Then they asked him, "Where, Lord?" Meaning, where are they taken? He said to them, "Where the corpse is, there the eagles will gather." Where the corpses are. Being taken in the Roman times was never a good thing. If you're taken away by the Romans, you're going to be killed or beaten at best. If you're lucky, you'll just be beaten and maimed. But most likely, you're going to be dead, and you're going to be in Gehenna, which is the garbage dump, which is translated as hell. That's where your corpse is going to be. Where the vultures, the eagles, that word again is just like what we talked about back on the 4th, August 4th, when we were looking at 24:28, chapter 24 in Matthew, verse 28. Wherever the corpse is, there the eagles will gather. That word can be translated again as vultures. And so it can represent both the Roman standard, but it can also be that's where, and I think that's whatever, I like Luke's version of this is more clear. For whatever reason, Matthew shifted that verse to another spot. Most likely that additional bit of information is either some oral tradition, because it's not in Mark 13. Okay? None of this stuff about being taken is in Mark 13. It's either coming from the Q source or it's coming from some oral source. Most likely, since it's in both Mark or Matthew rather and Luke, it's coming from Q most likely. But we don't have Q. So Luke is showing us quite clearly. They're asking, where are they going? They're going to be killed. They're where the eagles and the vultures are coming to eat on the bodies. So it's not the rapture, folks. Not at all about the rapture. It's about you don't want to be taken here. This is not the good thing. And again, in the Roman times, being taken was not a good thing. You didn't want to be one of the ones that was hauled off. But what do we gather from this? Where do we walk away from this? Knowing it's not the rapture, knowing that we need to be watchful, that we need to be waiting. I do believe, again, this is predominantly probably talking about the temple, but I do see that we are still in this time, that Jesus is coming again. The temple's gone, but Jesus is coming again. We need to be on our watch. We will not know. In verse 36, but about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. How arrogant would I be to be sitting here trying to tell you that I can ferret out all these signs and things and tell you, oh, this and that. To me, that's being unfaithful. And I've said this many, many times. That's me not being faithful. I just did a sermon yesterday on faith. To be faithful means that I do what I'm told to do, as God has told me to do, and it's not about me sitting here trying to violate that verse. To me, to try to ferret it out, because nobody knows. He just flat out told you, nobody knows. They think they know, they don't. And so if someone's telling you they know, they're mocking God. They're mocking Christ by doing that. And I do take great. I don't want to say that sets me up. I'm offended by that. That word of offended is overused today, but I'm offended by that. So with that, we do need to be on watch. And I'm come back to where I'm always at. If I'm living my life today as if God is coming tomorrow, Christ is coming back tomorrow, all will be well. And tomorrow's Wednesday. I'm recording this on Monday for Tuesday, but for you watching this on Tuesday, tomorrow is Wednesday, and I always say Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So if he ever does come then, and remember Pastor Roy told you that. That's just a joke. So with that, that's what I've got for you today. We'll pick up tomorrow, finish chapter 24 tomorrow, and then we'll be getting into chapter 25 with the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. We're going to continue on with this Mount Olivet discourse, which carries on through the end of 25. It's much longer than it is in Mark's gospel. Okay, with that, I'm going to let you go for today. Have a blessed day. Please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. Bye-bye.